everyone, Safira here, and today I'll be showing 5 extra tips for filling your sketchbook. I got a lot of positive feedback on my last sketchbook video, so I decided to create 5 extra tips for another video. So let's get started with tip number 1. Character design. Designing a character is often a lot of fun. So for this example, I sketched out a character I made up a couple days ago and roughly sketched her design. When you do a character design, it's always useful to draw the character from different angles and with different emotions and of course a full body. A character design will mostly be a reference sheet of the character. Of course you can decide how many details you will add to your character. I lined the character and I already had this certain color scheme in my mind and I started painting her with watercolors. She will actually be a new original character of mine and I gave her the name Momo. For a character design, it is always nice to write some details about the character on the page as well. A character design is always fun to do because you get to create a whole new character by yourself and you decide how the character will look like. And doing this in a sketchbook gives you the freedom of trying out different designs. Creating a character is not only a lot of fun, but it's also super creative. You can give your character a certain personality, a color scheme, and anything you like. I really like designing characters, especially because I had this design in my mind for Momo, so I cannot wait to draw her even more, so it was a lot of fun to draw her for this video as well. Tip number 2. Color combinations. This tip is really useful when you cannot decide on which color scheme you want to use for your final drawing. I drew a simple sketch of a picture I want to draw later on, and I drew 6 frames with the same sketch as a base. And after that I filled in every frame with different color combinations. This will help you pick the color scheme you like most. Plus, you can try it out and see if it works. This way you are really planning out your final drawing, and especially when you haven't decided on a color palette yet. This could be really useful for you. I always like to do this before I start my own piece, just drawing out the colors and see if they work. It's better to do this in a sketchbook than on the final drawing when you see that the colors are not working or that you don't like the color scheme you picked. So it's really nice to work it out beforehand. You're actually making some sort of color storyboard for your final drawing. You can also make it some sort of challenge as well. Going for color schemes you find on the internet, for example, and try them out. I find this a fun way to experiment with different colors. And it is also important that you, for example, pick your most loved colors and the colors you dislike, because it will give you a different view on them in a storyboard like this. Just try to push yourself in using colors you never use and colors you often use, etc. Just try and make it a fun experiment. Tip number 3. Studies. A good way to use your sketchbook is to do a lot of studies in them. For example, I'm doing a hand study now. I struggle a lot with drawing hands. I mean, they're impossible for me to draw. I cannot do it for some reason. So, doing these sketches and doing these studies really helps me improve at drawing hands. You can study everything you struggle with, of course, like poses, anatomy, or even certain materials. This creates a very nice page in your sketchbook, and it will help improve your drawing skills as well. I always feel really proud when I finally finish a page filled with different hand poses, or any other study, because I know I struggle with them. It is always good to practice, and a sketchbook is the perfect place to do so. And you will have a book filled with studies, which is super important when you really want to improve at art. I also played around with the page itself because I added a light background with a pencil behind the hand sketches. This gives the page some more contrast. I also write down what kind of study it is and the date, so you can compare it to another study you did. This will help you see if you have improved. Tip number 4. Color blending. This will help you get to know your materials. I create lines from my Winsor Newton watercolors, let it dry, and then went over it again with the same colors. This way you will see how the colors react to each other. It is important to know your materials, and it's nice to have an overview of the colors and how they blend with each other. Some colors have different pigments and react differently on each other, so knowing that will definitely help you with your colors. I do this now with watercolors, but you can also use any other materials such as pencils and markers or other paint. You will see that they will react differently, which is super interesting to see. So this will help you have an overview of what your materials are doing, and you will know your materials. Tip number 5. Challenges. Sketchbooks are of course fantastic to use for challenges. For example, I did Inktober, and now I have 2 filled sketchbooks with the challenge. And it is so awesome to have one book completely filled with a challenge, because I really worked hard on my Inktobers, and I'm super proud that I have those 2 sketchbooks filled and I can show them to other people, and it's just really nice to have. And there are a lot of challenges you can do. You have of course Inktober, there is Mermay and Uvember, which I actually want to do soon, even though it's not November anymore, but I just really like Uvember. And there are many more challenges. So these were 5 tips on how to use your sketchbook. I really hope you like these tips and that I will inspire you to get drawing. I hope you all will create lovely artworks. Anyways, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye!